Welcome back to Views with Hughes, your Jennifer News. This is Jerome Hughes, and today we're going to talk about Star Wars theory absolutely nuking Leslye Headland. You know, Leslye Headland, who created this in Star Wars The Acolyte. Now, Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy has ended, thankfully, after 7 agonizing weeks of pure trash. The finale of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy has left, a lot of people feeling deeply disappointed and, quite frankly, angry. Now, this entire season of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy has been nothing but a big, catastrophic failure after one another, basically riddled with problems that only got worse as the episodes of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte kept dragging on. And from the very start, we all knew that, this Star Wars The Acolyte was going to be bad. And you know what? Quite frankly, after all, Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland, it's showing like nothing but identity politics down the and basically Disney Star Wars has been known for shoving woke identity politics down our throats for years now. And it was clear that Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland and the Kathleen Kennedy would be no different, but what we got was far worse than even the most pessimistic person among us could even imagine. Now we have here this Star Wars theory is actually slamming Leslye Headland over her comments that she made in an interview, and it's been all over the internet about a character, Grandmaster Soul and stuff, and about what she said was benign sexism. Okay, now he's not defending the show at all, but the thing is, he's saying this to actually mock the viewpoints of Leslye Headland herself. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
Headland says, "We all knew that it was always going to be the betrayal of the father." Bro, she literally turned into like a demon witch, and it's a betrayal of the father. Yes, of course. Clearly, there are no daddy issues whatsoever when it came to writing this story. And I knew we had to juxtapose Luke's forgiveness and Vader's redemption. We're like, this is a story about the Sith, so that's not going to happen. You're absolutely right. There's this thing that's called benign sexism, and part of it is this paternal protectionism. It seems like this good thing, but like you said, there's this, I have to protect you from everything. I have to make sure you're okay. I have to tell you what track to get on. And then once you're on that track, I need to support you. Yeah, it's called parenting. It's called being a leader for your children. Children don't know as much life experience as you know. They haven't seen the world as much as you have. Man, when I was
right here, he actually lays it out on, Leslye Headland. Star Wars theory actually slams Leslye Headland for basically not understanding what basic parenting is, because of the fact that Master Soul, he was a father figure to the character Osha. And it seems to me that, instead of taking it as like good parenting, Leslye Headland decided to go ahead and call this benign sexism towards a younger woman. And now, I haven't watched this Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy, but I can tell you this. I can tell right here that even I can see why the story was basically horrible, because of the fact that with the finale of the episode 8 of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte, Leslye Headland still got it wrong, where she actually didn't even understand that it was actual parenting, as well as what makes up good parenting, as if it was a father to a daughter. Okay. And, basically here, Star Wars theory is actually trashing her, and yeah, and deservedly so, because of the fact that, he's a huge Star Wars theory is a huge Star Wars fan, as you all know, and Leslye Headland couldn't even get the basics right. So let's go ahead and continue.
Forget even being a teenager, I was 10 times more of an idiot. When I was a little kid, I didn't know anything. And I thought I knew a lot, because that's all you can see. That's your scope of understanding in the world, is what you know. You haven't really experienced life at all. Not even really. You haven't experienced life at all in the sense to know that, maybe there are other alternatives to this. Maybe there's other ways that this could go, this scenario, or perhaps, I won't feel this way in how many years' time. I won't have the same interests as I do today. But at that age, you kind of think, that your friends that you have are going to be your friends until the day you die, and everything you like is the thing you're going to like forever. Pretty much, at least for the most of us. But it's our parents' job to come in and say, hey, I was like that too, and it kind of changes. So, explore, do your thing, but don't have to be married to every single idea that you have, because you're growing up and you might have different interests as you age.
And he does make a good point about this. Star Wars theory does explain his life experiences, as well as the fact that, the obstacles he had to overcome. So let's see what he has to further say about Leslye Headland.
To her, and literally lived for her is just such a disrespectful slap in the face. Like, it is very evident to me that this person has a lot of daddy issues and has a lot of anger towards men. Now, I understand working with who she worked with would create this kind of tension and animosity towards men, but I can definitely say that not all of us are like that. And, you know, not all of us are the same, just like not all women are the same. Not all people are the same. I don't understand why this is necessary to put something in there. And now, I'm not a father, you know, and I would love to one day have a daughter, but I can imagine that how many people, you know, watching this video and how many people out there that are aware of this kind of rhetoric for this show and the implications, who are fathers of daughters. What do you guys think about this? Isn't this absolutely ridiculous? Isn't this abhorrent? Isn't this just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why is this even written? Why is this even imposed, implied? The guy literally lives for his daughter, does everything he can to protect her in so many different ways, goes against his own religion, the Jedi Code, his own life to protect her. And in the end, she kills him. And even in that moment, he doesn't fight back. He just says it's okay. And they're fucking blaming him for that, saying that he
Stupid writing indeed.
couldn't even let her have this moment of killing him. What kind of a fucked up person writes this? I'm sorry.
That person being Leslye Headland, because it seems to me that, like he says, and other people, Leslye Headland probably has, you know, a lot of daddy issues that are unresolved and stuff, because that this shows. And quite frankly, you know, Leslye Headland can't even get the basic family structure on the understanding of it correctly. Might be because of any like kind of past trauma she might have had as when she was younger, or possibly even with the what she admitted to, the strained relationship with a relative, with a sister and everything. But the fact of the matter is that, I mean, I'm not sure of Leslye Headland's upbringing, but the fact of the matter is that it seems to me that, like Leslye Headland said before, this was therapy to her. So instead of actually seeking actual therapy for her past issues with family and her life, she decided to go ahead and take a whole, you know, IP of Star Wars and then go ahead and change it up. And Leslye Headland is getting slammed by people, including like people like the Star Wars Theory, who's accurately given the description about Leslye Headland, about, you know, Leslye Headland's comments about Master Soul, as well as what Leslye Headland describes as benign sexism.
Sorry, man. This is just so weird. It's very strange to me, and I don't understand it. And I don't think I ever will. And I don't need to. I'm happy the show's over. I'm happy this shit is done. And I hope it never, ever comes back. I hope they don't touch Plagueis again. If they're going to touch Plagueis, man, it's got to be through freaking Jon Favreau or something like that. Because this is just weird. I agree in the fact that, you know, as women evolve, as any women or men evolve, they have to eventually reject the I know best for you from the parents in some aspects, not in every aspect, in some aspects. Right? You have to make your own choices as a kid. You got to make your own mistakes. I did that. I went against my parents' freaking advice so many times. 95% of the time, I was like, yeah, shit, you're right. But you know what? I had to go through it. I had to make those mistakes and be like, yeah, guess I ain't doing that again. Guess I'm not going to go around that path again. Guess I won't do this in this way again. And you kind of just figure it out from there. But that's part of character development and growing up. Literally part of becoming an adult is eventually, whatever that means. So I agree with that. But I don't agree with this, like, now that I am an adult, man or woman, I have to reject everything that is said to me or every bit of information. You know how I approach life is I'll take every bit of information I can get from people I don't like, from people I don't agree with, from people I do agree with, from people I do like.
And Star Wars Theory is about to make an interesting point.
That I will formulate my own opinion, never blindly following or disavowing something just because I'm emotional to it. Let's say I like someone or don't like someone, following or not following to rebel or whatever, or to say I'm independent. I did that shit when I was a teenager, and it's called rebelling. You just do the opposite of what people tell you to do, even if you want to do it. That time's over. I don't have that issue. I don't have that ego anymore. But, you know, you need to kind of get over it eventually. And
you know what? Star Wars Theory is correct, because, like I said, Leslye Headland doesn't even get the basic, you know, teenage and father-daughter interaction thing right. And it seems like Leslye Headland might have forgotten about what it was like to be a teenager, you know, how she interacted with different people, family, friends, so on and so forth. And the Star Wars Theory right here actually puts it out there with the using it, like showing these different, you know, analogies to show that these are the points that Leslye Headland is actually missing. And quite frankly, Leslye Headland could, like, even when Leslye Headland was writing Disney Star Wars The Acolyte, Leslye Headland still got it wrong. Like, not only with putting in there the kind of elements that didn't belong in the Star Wars story, but even with the elements that does not belong in the Star Wars story, Leslye Headland still got it wrong when it comes to like what a teenage girl is like, or what a young lady is like, as well as your father-daughter dynamic and everything. Leslye Headland got it wrong, and quite frankly, if this is all that Leslye Headland can do, then Leslye Headland shouldn't have been on this project in the first place.
That's just part of growing up. But this is just so stupid, and I'm happy that the messages in this show are dead like freaking Soul, who freaking put his life out for his daughter, for Osha, and she ended up just killing him. But goddamn, he couldn't let her have that too. He should have just said, it should have been like the boy said in the stream. It should have been like, I'm gonna kill you, and he's like, okay, it's okay. And she's like, can you just let me have this moment, you misogynistic piece of shit? I'm sorry, it's not okay. It's not okay. And just died. Like, maybe that would have been okay. I don't know, man. I don't know what place we're at now where these are the kinds of messages that we're putting into the stories. I just think,
because this is all that they know. Leslye Headland, Kathleen Kennedy definitely destroyed Star Wars even further, to the point where it may not be recoverable. And it seems like, we know that Leslye Headland may not be coming back and everything, with the fact that she's with a different agency and stuff. But at the same time, Leslye Headland, it seems that she's still trying to go ahead and push for a season 2 of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte. And right now, there's no developments. Even Leslye Headland admitted that there's no developments of Disney Star Wars The Acolyte for season 2. But Star Wars Theory here is actually laying it out there and criticizing how the writing was handled in that episode. And you know what? He's rightly actually making these points.
Think that there are a lot better. I remember in the 90s, Disney had great messages when it came to their movies. But now it's just, I don't know if it's like going over people's heads, or if this is just like, why is this approved? I don't know.
Well, because of the fact that they're trying to get the diversity bounties. Star Wars Theory is that simple. They don't care about what the fans think. They don't care about what the audience wants. Kathleen Kennedy only simply wants to go ahead and put a woke political message out there, so that way get the fans to buy into it. And she doesn't really care about that kind of stuff anyway. She just wants that diversity bounty. All right. And basically, we're just going to talk about the basics here. We're just going to talk about the basics. The people like Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy who made Disney Star Wars The Acolyte were incompetent in the first place, in every conceivable way. And I'm talking about Leslye Headland, okay? The writing was atrocious. The storytelling was a complete mess. And the character development, basically, that was non-existent, okay? And Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy was filled with, nonsensical plot points that made a mockery of the Star Wars universe. And Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy didn't just fail to build on the legacy of George Lucas. Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy actively tore it down, all right? The retconning of beloved characters and lore was so, basically weird and egregious, it bordered upon disrespectful. Matter of fact, it was actually disrespectful, okay? And it was as if Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy didn't care about the source material at all. And what we ended up with was an abomination that no true Star Wars fan could ever embrace. Now, in the immediate afterwards of this disaster called This Is Star Wars The Acolyte, we got Leslye Headland desperately pleading with fans, to go ahead, if you want to even call them that, to say, well, she says, please, let's get a season 2. Please tweet about it. Please tell everyone we know. Please we need the show renewed. And it's actually pitiful, if you ask me. But here's the reality. There was no real sign of a renewal on the horizon for Disney Star Wars The Acolyte. And that's no surprise, because Disney Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy has been a complete and utter disaster, okay, despite the mainstream media's relentless attempts to go ahead and convince us otherwise. And they also lied through their teeth, trying to sell us, on the idea that the Acolyte, this is always Acolyte, that is, was some kind of smash hit, and that all the criticism was just coming from a bunch of so-called haters that were actually OG Star Wars fans. But when the actual viewership numbers came out, it was a different story altogether. Now, the first couple episodes were already a disgrace, but after just 3 weeks, This Star Wars The Acolyte fell completely off the charts, and the viewership plummeted so fast that it was set a new record low for This Is Star Wars streaming series. Okay, and when you consider how bad some of the previous entries have been, that's really saying something. Okay, and you know the media shells out there try to cover it up, but the truth came out, and this show was basically definitely a total flop, and no amount of spin could save it. And the bottom line is this: This Is Star Wars The Acolyte by Leslye Headland under Kathleen Kennedy was a disaster from start to finish. And This Is Star Wars The Acolyte was a failure on every level, and now it stands as yet another example of how far Star Wars has fallen under the watch. You know, and no wonder Star Wars fans are fed up, and if they think they can salvage this mess a second season, then Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy are for a rude awakening. But here we are again, you know, with Leslye Headland, as you all know, making the rounds, doing the interviews, trying to explain this stuff, and it makes you wonder how in the world did they let this happen. You know, these are the folks that are running Disney Star Wars now. Leslye Headland has taken Star Wars to the dark side with Disney Star Wars The Acolyte. You know, and Leslye Headland talks about how a so-called positive corruption arc, and revisits her past in the galaxy. Well, in her personal past. Okay, but basically, if you haven't figured out yet, then this whole thing was cooked up by some witch coven that just couldn't stand the Jedi's patriarchal view, or whatever they want to call it. It's basically a Leslye Headland commentary from a bunch of, you know, lesbians who feel like they can't live their own lives. This ain't a dig at Leslye Headland. This is about the characters in the show, and they threw this whole daddy issue thing on top of it. And this is what Star Wars has become, and it's just an absolute disaster. The Acolyte itself, without a doubt, is basically the worst This Is Star Wars series that's ever been put out, and that's saying a lot because, you know, Leslye Headland and Kathleen Kennedy turned out a ton. Well, actually, not Leslye Headland, but Kathleen Kennedy turned back. She put out there a ton of garbage over the past decade. But seriously, this is on another level. And you know what? It's like people like me on here on YouTube, as well as out there on social media, are going to keep criticizing it. So let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. Also, be sure to include any additional thoughts you might have in this particular topic. If you enjoyed what I shared in this video, go ahead and smash the like button and share far wide across social media. And if you haven't done so already, and you enjoyed all the content that I put out there, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, click the bell notification, so that way you'll be notified of future uploads and updates. Till then, peace.